Women's work, and what a job they did. Hi, this is Bill Cullen with today's edition of Goose Who's Coming to Dinner. Our show is furnished by the National Goose Council. 5. That's how many adult women had survived the first hard, bitter winter in Plymouth Colony, which meant, according to the way they did things in those days, that's how many were available to prepare and serve the first Thanksgiving dinner in 1621. 5 women, maybe assisted by a dozen or so young girls, 17 people in all. Now, it sounds like quite a kitchen crew, doesn't it? It does, until you consider just what was involved. First of all, the guest list. About 150 people, 60 pilgrims and 90 Indians. They all sat down to the table on that first Thanksgiving. And it wasn't Thanksgiving Day. It was 3 days of feasting. And don't forget, those 5 women didn't have any modern-day conveniences. No self-cleaning ovens, no pre-cleaned, ready-for-cooking foods, no neighborhood supermarkets for last-minute shopping. From cleaning to cooking to catering, everything they did, they had to do the hard way. Brewster and Alden and Standish and Winthrop, the Pilgrim Fathers, are famous in our history, and they should be. But when you sit down with your family to Thanksgiving dinner this year, remember the people who really started it all, our Pilgrim mothers. Incidentally, if you're wondering how so few women managed to stuff so many turkeys, don't, because they didn't. For our Pilgrim fathers and mothers, any kind of celebration meant crisp, crackling, succulent goose. Why not get yourself and your family into the real spirit of Thanksgiving this year by serving a delicious roast goose? You'll be glad and thankful that you did. This is Bill Cullen for the National Goose Council. Tune in tomorrow. I'll tell you something else you never knew about geese. What's really traditional? You'd be surprised. Hi, this is Bill Cullen with today's edition of Goose Who's Coming to Dinner. Our show is furnished by the National Goose Council. Goose, eels, venison, clams, herbs, oysters, popcorn. What's this, some exotic smorgasbord? Just your basic, traditional Thanksgiving dinner menu. At least it was by the standards of the people who started it all, our Pilgrim ancestors. You see, that first Thanksgiving dinner was a traditional harvest feast, a custom that goes back to the dawn of recorded history. And naturally enough, the fruits of that year's harvest provided the basic menu for the feast. 1621 was a good year for wheat and barley, according to contemporary chronicles. And it was a banner year for the delicious new delicacy which the Pilgrims called Indian corn. So we can be sure that all those crops played a major role when it came to planning the feast. Seafood and venison were plentiful too, as were the wild fruits and berries which the Indians so enjoyed. Salads were made from these fruits and berries, and dessert was probably a pudding made of corn and molasses. Strangely enough, 3 of the foods we usually consider Thanksgiving traditions don't seem to have been prominent on that first menu: pumpkin pie, cranberry sauce, and turkey. No turkey on Thanksgiving Day? Probably not, and not missed either. For the Pilgrims, as for most Europeans of that time, roast goose was the center of any festive occasion. Why not make your Thanksgiving really traditional this year? Treat your family to a delicious roast goose. It's easy to prepare. Just ask your butcher. You and your family will be glad you did. This is Bill Cullen for the National Goose Council. Tune in tomorrow. I'll tell you something else you never knew about geese. Our national bird? Why not the goose? Hi, this is Bill Cullen with today's edition of Goose Who's Coming to Dinner. Our show is furnished by the National Goose Council. Ever wonder where we Americans would be without the goose? There might not be as many of us, for one thing. Back in the days before hospitals, goose grease, used as a liniment for all sorts of ailments, was one of the staples in every pioneer family's medicine chest. And how many of our pre-central heating ancestors might not have made it through those long, cold winters without their goose-down quilts? In fact, when you get right down to it, we might not be Americans at all without the assistance of our friend, the goose. When John Hancock and his friends scrawled their names on a certain famous declaration in July of 1776, they didn't use ballpoint pens. No, sir. They used goose quills. And you can be sure that for such an historic occasion, the Founding Fathers looked their best right down to their goose grease-polished black boots. All in all, a very useful bird, the goose. But you know what? It wasn't for the grease or its down or its quills that our ancestors really cherished the goose. It was for its delicious, delectable taste. Never had the pleasure? What better time to rectify that situation than this coming Thanksgiving Day? Treat yourself and your family to the taste that made our ancestors' mouths water. You can buy a goose already prepared for cooking, and believe me, the cooking's easy. Just follow the directions that come with your bird, or ask your butcher for advice. You'll love the results. This is Bill Cullen for the National Goose Council. Tune in tomorrow. I'll tell you something else you never knew about geese. It should really be called Goose Day. Hi, this is Bill Cullen with today's edition of Goose Who's Coming to Dinner. Our show is furnished by the National Goose Council. Goose Day. That's what we really should call Thanksgiving, not Turkey Day. You see, it's a matter of historical record that there was actually more goose than turkey served at that first Pilgrim and Indian get-together back in 1621. And that wasn't the first time that our friend the goose was the culinary center of attention at a national celebration either. Legend has it that England's Queen Elizabeth I was enjoying a delicious dinner of roast goose when she received word of her Navy's historic victory over the Spanish Armada in 1588. The Queen was so delighted at the news that she promptly declared the goose the official bird for national celebrations. St. Michael's Day was another popular medieval holiday that was observed by partaking in a festive dinner of roast goose. Do you know it's a custom that is still observed in parts of England to this day? And I'll tell you something else. Legend has it that if you eat goose on St. Michael's Day, you'll never want for money the rest of the year. That's worth a try. Now, I can't guarantee anything like that, of course. What I can guarantee, though, is a unique taste treat that you'll never forget. Why not see for yourself during this holiday season? Cooking a goose is easy. The goose even cooperates. You see, thanks to a thin layer of fat between its outer skin and its meat, the goose very obligingly bastes itself. The result? Less work for you and a delicious, moist, rich, flavorful meat with a crisp and crackling skin. Your entire family will love it and you for providing this different and delectable bird. Try it and see. This is Bill Cullen for the National Goose Council. Tune in tomorrow. I'll tell you something else you never knew about geese. Beware of geese. Hi, this is Bill Cullen with today's edition of Goose Who's Coming to Dinner. Our show is furnished by the National Goose Council. Beware of goose. Now, that should be a strange sign to see on someone's front lawn, wouldn't it? Or how about this property patrolled by guard geese on the gates of some industrial complex? Actually, it's not so strange. Geese, in fact, do make great watchdogs. Or I guess that would be watchbirds, huh? It's because geese are so easily aroused and make such a racket when they are aroused that they've always been so highly valued as sentries. Way back, and I mean way back in 309 B.C., the city of Rome was actually saved from a surprise invasion by the Gauls thanks to a gaggle of noisy geese. And during the Middle Ages, prosperous homeowners often relied on flocks of geese to alert them to any nighttime prowlers. Even today, one of the most famous distilleries in Scotland maintains a flock of especially trained geese to help foil and unwelcome intruders. Have you ever heard or seen an angry goose? Believe me, you wouldn't want to tangle with one. Eating one, though, now there's another story. It can be one of the greatest pleasures you'll ever experience. Why not try it this holiday season? Your family will love you for it. How much goose will you need? Well, figure it this way. Geese generally weigh between 6 and 14 pounds, with the majority in the 8 to 10 pound range. Figure on each 3-ounce serving taking about a half or 3/4 of a pound of goose is purchased. And remember, your family will love it, so don't forget to allow for generous seconds, or even thirds. One more tip to make sure you're not disappointed: order your holiday goose early. In fact, why not do it today? This is Bill Cullen for the National Goose Council. Thank you, and goodbye.